degrees in social work from the University of Kansas. She completed clinical mentorship and holds clinical social work license in Kansas and Missouri. Ms. Niedens' special interests include assessment and intervention for associated neuropsychiatric challenges and advanced programs and services for individuals living with early stage dementia. I want to remind everyone that you should keep your microphones on mute. And if you have questions during the presentation, you can type them in the chat. We will reserve time at the end for questions that Michelle can answer, and we will have the recording available on our website within 24 hours. So Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. Excited to see you today. Always glad to have you on our weekly webinars. And I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you. Let me Gosh, let me get our PowerPoint going. It's not wanting to cooperate with me today. Okay, so we're going to talk a bit about socializing post-COVID. And can we call it even post-COVID? I think the reality is we live with a certain piece of that, and it has reshaped kind of how we think and how we act. And there has been a legacy that is important for those of you who are experiencing a dementia, and certainly those who walk alongside someone with a dementia. So we look first to kind of where we have been. What is the impact of COVID? What is the legacy of COVID? We've seen some changes, and that is access to home support. We see shortages in respite care providers. We see shortages in the workforce in long-term care settings. We've seen day programs that have closed, and we have seen some that have closed that will not reopen. And so there has been a reality as it relates to home supports that have touched many of us. We've also seen patterns of comfort around physical touch. I myself am a hugger. So prior to COVID, I probably hugged folks multiple times a day. And post-COVID reactions to that is different. Our own hesitancy is around that is different. Does that make a difference? It does make a difference. It makes a difference in terms of our comfort with each other and understanding norms and understanding whether that's permanency of norms or not. We've seen reductions in congregate social activities. So we're still in somewhat uncertain time in terms of large groups. Some people are very comfortable with that. Some people are not. So we've seen differences in availability of what I would consider more formal or structured social activities. And we've seen reduction in informal contacts. There are those of you that have various sets of health issues or live with someone with various sets of health issues that may heighten concerns about those informal contacts. And not to minimize changes in routine. I'll tell you what I see. I see a lot of folks who are more comfortable staying at home and more hesitant to get out. And I say comfortable, not in that is an ideal circumstance, and we're going to talk about why that needs to shift. But people, for example, are attending their faith communities more online. People are Facebooking more or FaceTiming more and getting together with friends less. There's fewer neighborhood events, all of those kind of things. And there seems to be an acclimation to it. And we don't want to get too comfortable there. We're going to talk about that. Boredom related challenges. And if you are supporting someone in a more progressed age, of Alzheimer's disease or another dementia. That may mean a behavioral implication, that may mean restlessness, that may be agitation at times, those kind of issues. And then our own compounded grief and anticipatory grief. When we do not have a balanced perspective and an opportunity to continue to grab onto the normalcy of life, then we can find ourselves lost in a grief process. And that's what I consider compounded, that there's just multiple experiences of losses. Maybe it's friends, maybe some of you have even had friends that have passed away from COVID or that no longer get together, that there's, book clubs that have phased out or all of those kind of things, but it certainly adds to the pile of loss. We have seen increased depression and anxiety through this. There's been lots of conversation publicly about the impact of COVID isolation on depression and anxiety. Absolutely most acutely felt in the older population, older adult population. That has not completely dissipated. What we are seeing is people are walking very slowly back to how do we integrate with others. And then it adds to this loss of sense of security. And as we go through dementias, as we go through health issues, that already threatens our ability to predict and control, which is what is necessary to feel safe for many people. So let's talk a bit about the risk-benefit profile. And this is really important, and I want you to hear me. So there is nothing that is risk-free. So are there continued concerns around COVID? The answer is yes. We know that the variant is different. We know that less cases are being experienced. We know that depending on where you are, that the cases in terms of hospitalizations or serious illness are all down. We have the luxury of vaccines and emerging vaccines, probably, as they say, more in line with an annual event as we see the flu. So we understand that things have gotten better. That doesn't mean risk-free. It doesn't mean that there isn't any concern. And yet at the same time, there is also risk in continued isolation. There is also risk in continued concerns around how we get together and interact with one another. And each one of us have a different risk-benefit profile. How that lines up for each one of us is different. But it is important to think about how we comport our life, how we comport that social part of our life, to understand that that there's also risks involved in that if we do not move forward. So stepping back in. We know this for sure, that socialization is vital for mental health. You could be diagnosed with acute depression. You could certainly have an anxiety disorder, but you could have a very soft, a much softer version, a more muted tone. But absolutely, social contacts add something to our mental health. They are a sustaining force. And if ever we doubted that, if ever we identified ourselves as somewhat of a loner, we recognized in the midst of COVID that absolutely we need other people. And so it's vital for mental health. It's actually vital for physical health. There's physical implications as well. People stepped out of things like health clubs and community centers and those kind of fitness activities. And even for our own cardiovascular features such as blood pressure, et cetera, social opportunities make a difference. Now, it might look completely different than it did before. Maybe clubs you were involved with are doing things differently. Maybe the groups that you had aren't returning. So it may look completely different. We may have to forge our own path, and it may be that we have to take a more active role in the creation of how our social self looks. Without that, and thinking about how that might be designed, I think about this phenomena of loneliness. People will say, I'm lonely. And it really takes thinking a little bit more clearly on what that exactly means. There are two types of loneliness. There is social loneliness, and that is simply we are starved to see other people. We want to visit with folks. We want to have some sort of social activity. And then there's emotional loneliness. And that is really how we connect to other people. So you can continue to have emotional loneliness in the middle of a very full room. So part of what we look at as we become more calculated and see more deeply our own social experience and what we need and how that can be realistic, even in the midst of having dementia or supporting someone with dementia, we need to be specific about what those needs really are. Do we just need more social time, or do we need more meaningful connections? So building connections requires these kind of elements. It requires an environment that lends itself to meaningful conversation. So that means setting aside time to be with another person. That cannot be attending 47 things. That can't be, I've had care partners tell me sometimes, gosh, my kids want me to have some support, some help to come in and stay with my loved one so I can do some other things. But what would I do? I don't really have anywhere I want to go. And part of that is that we're not thinking about that emotional piece, we're thinking about the social piece. So if we think about that emotional piece, if we think about what feeds us in terms of meaningful conversation, where might that be? Building connections might just be adding back a sense of normalcy. I was visiting with a mother-daughter just the other day, and their conversation really was, we've got all these things to do, and we love Dad very much, and we're both very, very focused on making sure he has the best help and the best care he can possibly have, but we miss our relationship. And so an important intervention, not just for the daughter, not just for the mother, but also the person diagnosed who loves these women very much, who would never in a million years want them to trade their relationship or for that relationship to be diminished. Part of the necessity for them is to find that normalcy again. And that means setting aside time for mother and daughter to spend that is not around Alzheimer's disease or whatever type of dementia. And that gets us to respite of the mind, building connections, and the way we socialize, the activities we jump back into must be strong enough to pull us from our circular thoughts, from all of those demands and the list of things to do. It must pull us from the worries so that we can enjoy the experience. You're hearing me say that socialization is not just getting together with people. It goes to our very core. It is necessary in order to be healthy as a person. It is necessary to continue to be a warrior in the journey of dementia, and it is necessary to support a person with a dementia. Now, it needs to be consistent. We need to figure out the right dose, and sometimes we have to play with that. Some people will tell me, if I can look forward to this experience one time a week, then I'm good. And sometimes people will say to me, you know, I really need to have 2 or 3 things a week for me to really be able to fight off the darkness. And so figuring out the right dose for you, that has to do with your personality, that has to do with what your coping strategies are internally and alone. It has to do with a whole set of factors, but play with that. It isn't about, I certainly don't want anybody to say to me, gosh, I go out once a week already, so that should do it. It's not about a number, it's not about a frequency, it's about the context to you and what that frequency should be and how do we build it. So it's not an external set of variables, it's an internal set of variables. And then building it into the routine. How many times have I had people say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I know I need to do it, but they don't do it. And if it is a routine, if Thursday afternoon is your friend afternoon, if, Saturday morning is walking with your neighbor that you care about and connect with, whatever it is, but it should be a routine. It should be built in a schedule just as surely as anything else that you're doing. And where to look, and you can say to me, Michelle, this is obvious stuff, but what I want you to do is think about all of the resources. So clearly family is someone we want to connect with and we want to build routines, but it may be extended family. It may be, calling up cousins that you haven't talked to for years. It may be a shared project in ancestry, whatever it is, but, families need not be just our immediate family. It may be that opportunities to connect and to build our social opportunities may extend beyond. And same with friends. I talked with a gentleman, it's probably been 2 or 3 months ago now, who made a decision that he was just going to call friends that he hadn't talked to for a long time. He made a list of people that he really enjoyed in his life, and he actively tried to find them and call and reach out to them and check in on them. It was a wonderful project. He had fun tracking them down. He had fun thinking about who they were. He had fun reflecting on the memory, and he had a connection when he called. The neighborhood is an important outlet. I really think neighborhoods can be far more valuable than often we consider. And people stay in their own homes. It takes us reaching out. It takes us sitting outside and talking to people as they walk the dog. We can make friends with people of all ages. We can make friends with folks that have that are working through the day and maybe not home, but they're out working in their yard in the evening. There's all kinds of ways to connect, and we need to consider that. Return to community centers. And you may be a person that, I'm not too good at reaching out individually, but I could join a class. And with those classes, I visit with a woman. She has MCI, mild cognitive impairment, and she goes to her community center to take a water aerobics class. And she has found friends there. Now, she lives in a relatively small community. She knows people, but she did not know these women as friends. And now after the water aerobics class, they're going to lunch together. So, at the age of 89, she is making new friends. Senior centers in some communities are like that. that one can meet. Sometimes people will have some hesitancy about going to senior centers. There can be stigma attached to that. I'm going to say baloney to all of that. If it expands the opportunity to talk to people, to connect with people, to learn something different, it's valuable. We're not going to give way to stigmas. Volunteerism is another way to expand our social networks. And there is increasingly back opportunities to volunteer. Those were shut down in COVID. More and more we're seeing volunteer opportunities. And to consider that. Community college sometimes has senior programming or senior classes. There again, it's about shared interests. And can we find someone who may have something that we connect with, that may have some similar interests that is beyond our circular thinking. Faith communities are there with small groups oftentimes, or volunteer activities, and then there's support groups. And in COVID, all those support groups went Zoom, but there are a number of support groups that are live. You can connect with people either way, either virtually or live, but you are dealing with a set of people who understand something about what you're going through. So new ways, and I just encourage real quick, a perspective that says, I'm going to figure out some different ways to connect with other people. So as the gentleman that made the list of friends, so connection of the day or connection of the week, and make that a challenge. Maybe you don't have time till 7 o'clock when things are quiet, write a letter to someone. There's still valuable, something really valuable about getting a letter in the mail. Not just a card with a signature, but an actual letter with information. There's still real value in that. So sending that gives someone else joy, and perhaps receiving something, it can add some joy. Create something back to that routine piece, porch Fridays or driveway Fridays, and make it a point to set out there and visit with people that walk by, or invite other neighbors over for driveway Fridays or morning walks, and ask some folks to walk with you on Saturday mornings, whatever. Start a club. If there's nothing that really fits your interest area, invite another couple over to do something structured, to learn something new, or to experience some activity in a new way. So this is about a choice. It's not about staying busy. It's not just about staying active. It's about connecting in life and finding meaning through our interactions with other people. So absolutely a choice to be made. And I'll end on this story. Many years ago, there was a film called The Straight Story. It was about Alvin Straight, a gentleman who had a stroke and had some physical disability, couldn't drive anymore. And his brother in a nearby state in Wisconsin had a serious health crisis. And Alvin wanted to go see him. This is a true story. So from Iowa, since he could not drive, he drove his lawnmower from Iowa to Wisconsin. And in this movie, along the way, he was camping, on the side of the road, essentially. He met up with a runaway. And he was having a conversation with this runaway. And the teenager said, my parents don't understand me. I've done this terrible thing, and I'm ashamed to tell them. And I don't think I can go home. And he tells the story to her. He said, when my kids were growing up and they were arguing and squabbling, I would have them all go get a stick. And they would bring me this stick one at a time, and I would take it from them and I would break it. And then I told them all, go get another stick. So they all went and got another stick. And then instead of breaking them one at a time, he combined all the sticks and he wrapped twine around them. And then he tried to break it. and he couldn't. So when we are with other people, we are stronger. When we are with other people, we can bear attempts to break us, and we will not break. Socialization is important. Being with other people is important. Thank you so much for listening today. I will turn it back over to Tina for a few words, and if there's any questions.
Thank you, Michelle. We always appreciate your powerful presentations, and what a great story, very inspiring. I will go on ahead and turn it over for any questions that individuals might have. You can type those in the chat and Michelle can help answer them. I have some nice comments in the chat. Very true. Great reminders about how to connect with others. Someone says they're inspired. Lots of very positive presentation, positive comments here, Michelle. All right, Stephen doesn't have any direct.
Yeah, if no questions, thanks again for taking the time to listen. Tina?
All right, well, thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. And Michelle, always such a delight to have you. So thank you very much. We do have the recording. It will be available within 24 hours. And next week, we will not have a weekly webinar due to the Labor Day holiday. So be sure to have a nice time connecting with your families and friends, maybe utilizing some of those tips that Michelle shared with you over the holiday weekend would be great. If you need information about my alliance, if you need to find the recording, you can always visit us on the website at kualzheimers.org. And if you have any direct questions, you can email us at myalliance@kumc.edu. Thank you very much, Michelle. We appreciate it.
There are a couple questions.
Oh, I do see those coming in. Thanks, Jan. Okay, so looks like there's one from Dixie down here. Michelle, cousin worked for NIH. She's in assisted living. Now she cannot use the phone. Any suggestions?
Yes. So sometimes there's creative ways to use phone. There are phones that use pictures rather than numbers and have 4 pictures. So sometimes it could be an adaptive device that would allow the use of phone just pushing on a picture instead of recalling a number. She may or may not be able to do that. But I also like things such as recordable photo albums to give stories. I also think about DVDs with people talking. You know, you can create DVDs from pictures and stories all the time. I think about when you visit to make sure she's connecting with other people, to invite someone in. That's that part of that routine piece. Assisted living can be general assisted living or it can be memory care, but if someone's in a general assisted living, oftentimes they're pretty isolated in their apartment. So, you know, figuring out, could there be a schedule where other people could come in, or could she be assisted in attending some of the group processes? I see another question about what about if you had a life-threatening disease? What about if your medical condition or the person that you support, their medical condition required a safety level that denies many of these group activities? I say continue to be creative. you still have those same needs, and meaningful communication can happen in all kinds of forms. Certainly can happen on the phone, but if it happens on the phone, I want you to make it special. I want you to get a cup of tea. I want you to find a room. I want you to go, step out on the patio. I still want that to be a special moment together. I don't want you to just, that everyday kind of experience. I still want you to structure it in a way that there's meaning involved. And I think being outside with distance and safety kinds of things, I think, as I said, Zoom support groups, we can make do. We just need to find, there are additional mechanisms now we didn't have before COVID. And even if it's not as ideal as live, it's still valuable. And we can find meaning in all kinds of things. So that those creative thought process and establishing that routine is still important. Having that weekly story reading with someone over Zoom or over phone, including grandkids or great grandkids. So hang in there. Socialization, important no matter what your limitations are. We can figure out ways to do this. We just have to commit to it.
And Michelle, that's a really good point with grandkids. I have a 3-year-old, and so every night during bath time, we call my parents, and she gets her Graham and Gamp chit chat in. Just even sometimes it's only a couple of minutes, but they always have their evening chat together. So great ideas. Schedule and consistency is also nice because it just becomes part of your routine. So that's a really good point. So thank you for those questions. Any other questions that I missed or that pop in here? All right. Well, Michelle, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And everyone have a safe and wonderful week and holiday.